Hey there. I had come across a suitcase of Ommegang um, Belgian ales, and I decided that that was an opportunity I couldn't pass up. And it really was a suitcase of beer. I have to see if I can make enough room in my screen to show this. So it looks like this, but it came with beer in it. And there were three 750 milliliter bottles. It doesn't even say what the styles were. No, it totally does. Three Philosophers, a Hennepin Saison, and Art of Darkness, and a lovely glass. And it was amazing. So I am on the last bottle, and this is the Art of Darkness, a Belgian style dark ale, 8.9% alcohol by volume. Um, and there is a category for this. It's BJCP category 18E, Belgian Dark Strong Ale. And so there you have it. So let's take a look at this. The other two were pretty great. I started with the lighter ones and was working my way toward the dark ale. Now I have an official Belgian beer glass and not a brandy snifter. Okay, so aroma. Wow, this is. For a second, when I moved past it, I smelled coffee, but when I smell up close, I smell lots of yeastiness. Kind of a bright, almost sour smell. Not what I was expecting. So fruity. Huh. Security protocol. Gotta unlock the computer. Okay. Wow. So interesting smell. Fruitiness. Kind of a sourness, brightness. Some yeastiness. Oh, there's some maltiness in there. Wow, there's a lot of stuff going on in this glass. Okay, so appearance-wise, it poured with pretty good head, but dissipated. I'm expecting at 8.9% alcohol by volume that we're going to see some Belgian lacing. And it's pretty dark, actually. Not a lot of light is getting through this. Beautiful brown, dark brown color. Let's taste. Wow, there's very interesting. There's a lot going on in this beer. A couple drinks in and I can already tell that there's some alcohol in this beer. And I definitely get some alcohol warmth or drying in the aftertaste. But it tastes differently than it smells, which is interesting. It still has some fruitiness to it and some of that brightness that I smelled initially, but made me think of yeast. It's got some nice maltiness to it. None of those things rules the flavor, and so they're all kind of intermixed. There's like a deep kind of roasty quality to it, but fruity at the same time. It tends to have some sweetness to it. And then like this kind, I don't even know if it's acidic or like a sourness. By decarbonation even too. And it might just be the yeast that I'm taking. Oh no, there's definitely some bitterness that kind of dries it up afterward. Very interesting, lots of complexity. And normally I describe this roller coaster of beer, but this is like woo 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 woo. There's all kinds of stuff going on. Very interesting. And I think it's interesting. Actually, it actually describes in this style that the complex and varied flavor should blend smoothly and harmoniously. And that is definitely the case here. I mean, there's so much going on. I feel like each portion of the drink has a different quality. Each second of the drink has a different quality, and then even the aftertaste. There's an initial aftertaste. There's a couple of breaths later aftertaste. There's the aftertaste after you've had two drinks back to back, two sips back to back, and that's really interesting to me. My best comparison is that this has some ruby port type qualities to it. So it's not thick and syrupy sweet like that is, but it has like that sweetness, but the alcohol burn, a kind of oakiness, and that kind of an interesting complexity, and I feel like that this is like the port version of a beer almost, as far as flavor is concerned. So very, very interesting. So it's very carbonated, which is that's appropriate for this style. And it should have a smooth and noticeable alcohol warmth, which it definitely does. This is definitely a full, definitely a full body. Yeah, I mean, it has a velvetiness to it. It has a tongue coating quality. It has a little bit of crisp carbonation to it. Very enjoyable. So the history of this particular style is that most versions are unique in character, reflecting characteristics of the individual breweries. Now, that's a very interesting thing to say, because the style guideline is I mean, that seems contrary to having a style guideline. And so all these styles are like, this is what we're expecting for this type of beer, and anybody who uses a slightly different ingredient or extra amount of this or whatever should be judged in the specialty beer category. And here in this particular style, they're giving brewers a poetic license, and I think that's a cool approach to this style. Authentic Trappist versions tend to be drier, and Belgians would say that is more digestible than Abbey versions, which can be rather sweet and full-bodied. Higher bitterness is allowed in Abbey-style ales with a higher finishing gravity. Barley wine-type beers, spiced Christmas-type beer should be entered into the Belgian specialty ale category, and not this category. So, traditionally, bottle conditioned, meaning re-fermented in the bottle. And so I didn't think to look to see if there was any sediment in here. I can't really see actually in this bottle. But the other couple of bottles that I poured all the way to the end, they did have some sediment in them. I know that they were different styles of beer, but Belgian and utilizing those Belgian yeasts. But I think a lot of Belgian ales get the very specific yeast flavor and body and complexity by having them re-fermented in the bottle like that. And so anyway, off topic, I suppose. Belgian yeast strains prone to production of higher alcohols, esters, and sometimes phenols are commonly used. And so Belgian style ales, partially the style, I think actually a great majority of the style lends itself to the yeast that's being used. And so there's water, there's grain, there's the combination of those things and the hops. But the yeast imparts a very specific type of flavor that when I taste a Belgian style ale, I'm like, oh yeah, that's a Belgian ale. And I think that's probably part of what I smelled when I first smelled this beer. But anyway, great beer. I've had Ommegang brews before, and I'm pretty sure that I've enjoyed them. But I really enjoyed my beer suitcase. That was very drinkable. Each beer in it was very drinkable, and you get a nice glass out of it, which is pretty awesome. And I feel like this was like a beer deal, because those 3 bottles and this glass were $19.99, and these bottles sell individually for $9.99 each. So if you really like or want to even go on a tasting variety, or have a beer night with your friends, I definitely think looking at this beer suitcase by Ommegang is the way to go. Hopefully you can find it for $20 in your region. Anyway, this video is running long, enough talking about it, and I'm going to drink some more of it. If this is something that you have tried, I would love to hear your thoughts on it, and where you were able to find it. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great night.